You're on.
So this is good practice for me because I got, a speaking class next semester. Bear with me. But like she said, this is my second year beekeeping, and I taught myself to rear queens, but I'll get into why in the next slide. Late last year, one of my production hives, for some reason, went queenless in November. And where are you gonna get a queen in November?
Oh, wow.
You know, so you have a few options. It's very limited unless you have queens banked, or you combine them with another hive. But then you basically lost the hive. Regardless, you lost the hive, and the chances of making it through winter is very slim. Like I said, you can combine a hive with a queen right hive. You can try and find a breeder that late in the year, but it's not. It's a very, very low possibility. And you have less production the following year because what you do this fall and winter is going to affect whether you have production next year. Spend money. So what I did is like something what they did with the guy from Born and Bred, microbreeding.
Right.
Yeah, but I said I'm super microbreeding. This is very little. But you produce queens for yourself, for your hives, and maybe for some friends if you have extras. You can make a little bit of money on the side. But more than anything, it's like for the what ifs. What if I pinch the queen when I'm checking on what if they decide I don't like this queen, they're gonna make a new queen, but you're like just right there at the nectar flow. Instant loss of production. So what you need, number one thing is bees. If you don't have bees, you're not gonna raise very good queens. Specifically nurse bees. You need pollen because nutrition is important for queens because the bees eat the pollen, produce pollen and honey, produce royal jelly, and that's what the queens eat. They need a lot of royal jelly. They need to fill up those cups with royal jelly to get the best possible queen. Honey, to get them through it, you need grafting tools. You can find cheap grafting tools, Amazon, Timo. Just get something to get practicing. And you can do it, in a 5 frame, an 8 frame, or a 10 frame. Anything lower than that, you might run into trouble with quality. But again, the number one thing is bees. Without bees, you're not producing anything. So the difference between a 5 frame and a 10 frame is you need less bees for a 5 frame. You can produce less queens. It requires less resources. And you can even use a pro nuke. When you buy a nuke from a new hive or something, you can use that same box. Just keep it in the shape because they get overheated really quick. In the 10 frame, if you want to do more, you can do it in an 8 or 10 frame. But you need more bees, more brood, and you get reward at the end of it. You get more queens, obviously, but you also need more resources. So you're going to need more production hives to pull resources from. It's doable with 2 hives, but you're just going to be setting everybody back and have less production. And it's probably equipment that you already have. So if you want to start, you have to prepare your box, preferably 1 day or maybe 2 days before. Set up your frames like this. Everything, if you have an 8 or 10 frame, or you do foundation outside of that. But this is I'd say the bare minimum. Brood cell, where your cell bars is gonna go. You can put empty cell bars in there, just let them clean it out. Like a day before you graft. Pollen right next to it because nutrition, brood and honey. And if you do a 5 frame, just take out probably this brood right here. And you want as many capped brood as you can because they're going to want to raise their own if there's open brood of the right age. And that can throw your whole process into a pickle. those queens are gonna emerge way before yours and kill everything. And like I said, for a fried frame, just remove one of the broods. I'd suggest this one. Do what you think, yes.
So you've got the honey frame there at Born and Bred, they were really pushing that it needed to be like a nectar frame.
Yeah, okay.
But have you seen any difference?
I
Like
haven't
whether it's
seen any
honey or
difference,
nectar?
because generally, you're gonna raise brood in the spring where the nectar is coming in. Yes, you're gonna have, mainly nurse bees, but they're gonna start to age out and start foraging. But this is just like emergency food. So you can do this as soon as, you see the first drones coming in, when you're doing a bee check and you see your frame loaded with cap drone brood. That's as soon as you could possibly start grafting, start queen rearing. So at that point, you only have honey, capped honey at that. But it still is just like an emergency feed. You're still gonna feed them sugar syrup while you're raising queen. So you have your box, you have your frames, now you need the bees. If you think you have enough, double it. Because you're gonna lose a lot of the foragers. They're gonna go back home and they're not gonna care about that box. And like I said, prepare it at least one day in advance, just so that they realize that they're queenless. And you can, like I said, you can put the cell cups overnight, they'll clean them up and get them ready, polish them. And they'll be ready to go the next day. The next day is the day that you're gonna work the most, probably. Grafting day.
How many hives did you start with? What was your base?
This year I started with two production hives, double deeps. And I took, what I did was a double screen board method like Bob Benny does in his videos. Highly recommend looking at that. But you use the same hive, put the queen up top, double screen board, and the bottom ones are gonna realize they're queenless. And since all the foragers are gonna go back there, that one is gonna be chock full of bees.
Okay, so you did not make a separate hive, you used the double hive method, okay.
It just is more labor intensive to do it that way because you gotta take off that top hive, take off the double screen board, put that bottom one up top of the other ones. This is more like do it on a separate hive, making a whole new hive and doing it that way. Less lifting, less labor. But it's totally doable with the double screen board. First, you want to look for a hive that you like. Productive, docile, very calm. Generally is what you want. If it's aggressive, you don't want that. And you want to graft the smallest larva that you can find. If you don't have great eyesight, magnifying glass will help. But you want to get where they start making a seed and floating a royal jelly. Those are the ones that you want. These over here is a little bit out of age. And obviously anything that's bigger than that is no good. And you don't want eggs, because you graft the egg, you're gonna damage the egg. And if you use a light, it also helps. And if you have black foundation, plastic foundation, it also very helpful. There's a few methods of grafting. You can use a manual tool, a Chinese grafting tool, or a stainless steel tool. And if anybody goes to Born and Bred, you'll get to try both of those. Personally, I like the Chinese grafting tool, it's just one. I don't know, that's the one I learned with, so that's the one I'm sticking with. And you can graft, you have to graft on the same day. I don't know why, but you have to graft on the same day that you transfer them into the hive. And be patient. If you graft too fast, you might damage the larvae. And if you graft too slow, they might dry up. Just take your time, scoop them out, and put them into the cup. Don't rush it. If you flip them, they're gonna die.
So when Jennifer taught me, she said the first 300 don't count.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. First 300. Another one is where you don't use tools, and it's like a NICOT. I'll have pictures of both of these in the next slide, but it's called a NICOT queen rearing system, where you put the queen inside, like it looks like a cassette, and she's enclosed, and she can't get out. Bees can get in and out, but she's gonna lay in little plastic or wax cups, so you don't have to do the grafting, and you basically go do that 3 days in advance of when your graft day is, your day 0 is gonna be, and day 0 is gonna come into play next. But that's more like timing. You have to time it and have your receiving box ready, because once they hatch, they're gonna start giving them royal jelly, and if you wait too long, they're gonna give them pea brain, and then less quality. So, like I said, it looks like a cassette with a whole bunch of plastic cups. They sell this as a bundle on Amazon and Temu, just like this with these cups right here, and they give you, I think, 100 of these cell cups, and you put the queen in there, and it gets like a plastic cover, and the queen cannot get out. Bees can go in and out freely, but the queen cannot get out because it's like a queen excluder. So she's forced to lay in those cups. So the only thing that I don't like about it is that there have been some people that say that, like some reports where the queen's head gets stuck in it when she goes in there and she checks it out, and so she gets stuck in there, and you're not gonna know until you go in there and whoops, she's dead. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's all right. It's a method. You can try it if you like it. If it works, roll with it. But if not, I recommend like this is the Chinese tool. Very easy to use. Flexible tips right there will help you scoop out the larvae with royal jelly. I like it. They call it wet grafting, and with the stainless steel one, it's more of a dry graft.
So is that like a suction cup, kind of?
It's just it's got like a scoop,
Okay.
like a tongue. Like this bottom part right here, it's flexible, so it basically goes behind the larvae and picks it up.
What's the little red button?
That's basically to push this one and push the larvae into your cell cup. It's easier to load and unload in theory. It worked for me. But like I said, you can try them all out, whether it's the stainless steel tool, the Chinese grafting tool, or the knife cut. The point is, try, because the what if moments are right around the corner. So graft day is the day you're gonna work the most. You have to place the cell bar into the box after you've grafted. Like literally, like as soon as you're done grafting, put them into the box, and now they're gonna start drying out on you. And you come back in 7 days, more or less, not more, 7 days, and you should have cap cells or cells that didn't take. The cells that didn't take, you don't have to worry about those. But those cells that did take, they're gonna be capped, and they're gonna emerge in about 4 days, roughly from day 7. So, at this point, I would suggest thinking about what hives you're gonna split. If you're gonna make splits, go ahead and start that process within the next day. Or if you're gonna keep some and give some away or sell some to other beekeepers, start, making phone calls, sending out texts saying, hey, I got this many cells coming out in the next 3 or 4 days, or by such and such date, they'll be ready to pick up.
Are there, not issues with low drone count by November for mating?
I mean, there are lower drone counts. For some some reason, the hive that ended up losing a queen, like I said earlier, for some reason, they got one mated. In November, I'm like, what in the world? And they made it through winter, and she's kicking butt, all year. But it's very low, but you can still probably get some mating. It doesn't hurt to, the point of this is practice, because your main mating is gonna happen in spring and summer.
She came to my house.
Yeah, your house is like a stone's throw away.
Yeah.
There's plenty of drums out there.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, you make a plan. Facebook Marketplace is a good place to connect with other beekeepers in the area, and the club, obviously. If you know people that wanna make splits, or that need a queen emergency, you know, hey, I have one. And, make a little bit of money, and get your money back. You'll probably, what you spend on the equipment, you'll probably make it back after one queen sale, maybe two.
Wow.
So Cruz, you're not using an incubator yet. So
I let them,
are you gonna sell enough cells to buy your incubator?
probably. Probably at some point I'll probably do that, so that way the next round just happens, like, just like at the Warner Bros., that their cycle is like really something that I would like to do.
The cells get tougher, they get stronger when they go in the incubator.
Okay.
So are you getting rid of virgins, or are you getting rid of bred queens? Are you selling bred
Cells.
Or are you
queens?
selling cells?
Probably selling cells to begin with. You're selling cells, preparing to selling cells right here, because when you sell virgin queens, they might not accept her. There's a low
Right.
chance of acceptance than a cell.
Right.
A cell
But
is
you're not
almost,
getting the virgins bred and then selling them at this time of year. You're talking about just using
Mhm.
the cells themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
using the cells,
And
and there's
this-
higher acceptance rate.
And I think the other thing to really keep in mind is like, if you're just starting, this is like super entry, because he grafts, he's got cells, he's done. Doesn't have to do all of the other.
You don't have to spend money on mating nukes, you don't have to spend money on, queen cages for transfer. You just, basically you're selling the cells themselves at this point. If you want to do mating nukes, you can use the Pro Nuke 5-frame nukes that you get from when you buy, if you have a lot of them, those work perfect. Your bottleneck at that point is gonna be bees, brood, and food.
So
Or
you said you're selling them at around day 11 or so,
At day 10.
at day 10, so they've got another few days
They
for the
got
bees to accept them before they emerge.
Between 1 and 2 days.
Okay.
max.
There's real good acceptance with the cell
Mhm.
itself.
Day 7 to day 10, make plans with people to give away, sell, or requeen your own hives. If you're gonna requeen your own hives, pinch the queen a day in advance, and the next day, put the cell in. Even if they start a new queen, like a cell from an egg or from the larvae, the chances are they're gonna accept that cell and tear those other queens back. If your schedule is unpredictable, consider buying some self-protective, but it's more like a queen cage that, if we go back to this one, if you buy this, they have like a queen cage that fits right onto this. So if you know that you're not gonna be able to get to them before they emerge, put those queen self-protector cages well in advance. If you know, if day 7 comes around, you know you're not gonna be able to get to them within the next 4 days, within the next week, put them on. They'll be okay. It buys you a couple days, like, as soon as they emerge, your window to get them mated is, I'd say, about a week, at best. After that, their tendency to wanna mate is day after you transfer the cells, you don't want to check them for at least 10 days. Because you want the queen to emerge, to harden up, to go out on mating flights, and to start laying. After, I can say, after day 21, day 22, from day 0, from graft day, that's when you're probably going to go in there and check. If you have eggs, then operational success, you have a brand new queen and a nuke. You can sell the nuke, sell the queen, and start again. If you're gonna do more rounds, day 11 would be your new graft day. So, because you need to, and if that's the case, you need to replace brood frames, because it's gonna be an endless cycle of putting new bees in there, new brood frames to repopulate, because they're just like, they have a limited life cycle, and the nurse bees are the ones that produce the royal jelly. So, you replace the cap brood frames, replace pollen frame if there's not enough pollen, and pollen pannier if there's no forage available. At this point, your cell builder has its own field force, so they can go out and get their own pollen. So you can, when you go in there, check to see if you have pollen. If you have pollen, then you probably don't have to worry about it. But make sure you put the pollen frame right next to your grafts to give the best nutrition possible. And you shouldn't have any open brood at any point, because you're only putting in cap brood and you're not leaving any queens in there. And feed them sugar syrup constantly. Day 20 plus, your queen should be back. You should have eggs. And if she didn't make it back, if you don't have it, she might have not made it back. Perhaps the bees didn't like her and try to replace her as soon as they could. If you plan to replace your old queens, pinch your old queen a day in advance and then introduce slowly. They don't really like for you to give them a new queen from anywhere if it's not their own. Install a queen directly, a cell directly. Queen should be laying at this point. If you want to bank queens, like for the what if moments in the future that you don't know about, totally do. What I've seen is some people using incubators, other people using an actual hive. I'd rather use a hive, and that's basically a great way to have an insurance policy. You never know if, like I said earlier, you roll a queen when you're inspecting, or they decide they don't like the queen, and your production just gets cut off right in stride. But banking queens for too long might reduce their viability over time, because they want to lay, they want to keep laying, they want to lay. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, I don't know what happens, but I feel like they're not going to want to lay as productively if they're not allowed to for a long period of time. Queen rearing is a good skill for your own hives and for your neighbors, beekeepers. You can make some money from it, but more than anything, you want to be sustainable. You don't want to keep having to buy bees, buy queens. Make your own. Good quality queens in your own backyard is a great way to have a sustainable apiary. All I have.
Can you go back to the very first picture with the queens in the little boxes?
No.
So what is that?
That is a queen bank
Okay.
that they put into a hive and just store. You can do this on a double deep hive. Just put a queen excluder. Keep the queen right on the bottom, the laying queen on the bottom. You can put these on top. They'll still feed them, even though they have their queen at the bottom.
And then you just pull that queen cage out of there
As
when
you
you
need
need
it.
it. Okay.
As you need it.
So how many colonies do you have now?
6. I lost one. I lost one because I closed the entrance and I opened the wrong entrance. I have an Apame, a salmon frame, and so, I opened one side, but they were on the other side. So, lost it. But, I replaced all my queens this year, and doing that. And I sold a few nooks along the way.
So how has your average or your percentage been?
My first one, I got 15 out of 16 takes.
Wow.
Wow.
After that, it goes up and down.
Uh-huh.
It goes up and down. It just, it takes practice. A good, if you do 15 grafts and you only get 2, still 2 that you didn't have yesterday. And every little bit helps. At least that way you can keep practicing. I think that commercial beekeepers want to have an average of about 80 takes. Anything higher than that is good. Anything lower than that, then we got a problem.
And how often were you doing it? Were you doing it every 11 days?
No, I was doing it probably once a month. I would do a 20-day cycle.
Uh-huh.
And then I started over, practice it again. I just didn't have enough equipment to do a round after round after round.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the bees is a big deal. You need a lot of bees.
Yeah, when Rick's doing that, I think he does it every week, does he not?
Yeah,
Yeah, he does it every week.
he's really got it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got it tied
Yeah.
down to the
Mhm.
minute.
If you have mating nukes and enough of them to sustain, like if your plan is to do 10 queens at a time, to get 10 queens mated at a time, if you have 10 mating nukes, they will sustain themselves throughout the year. You just take the queen out when you're ready to sell her and put in a new cell. And they just basically reproduce, because that queen is gonna emerge, get mated, start laying, and the brood cycle repeats. And you don't really have to worry about much, because there's always gonna be a brood maker in those nukes. Always.
What kind of cups are you using?
I am using, similar to this, but I'm also using the JCBZ, cups.
And when you go from that to introducing the cell into the hive, how do you introduce it into the hive?
You can introduce, you basically, if you have this, you can take it off of the frame. It just pops out. There's like a base, but there's also a cover. So you take that off, and basically you have a queen cell. And the way it's designed is so that you can hang it on top of the frame.
Oh, like between 2 frames?
Mhm.
Oh, I see.
Hang it right in between both the frames. If you have brood in the hive that you're introducing, right there.
When we do the JZBZ, it's got a little ring on the outside, and we just like stick it in
Yeah.
the comb.
You can stick it in
Just
the
very
comb.
lightly, like, stick
Right,
the
that's
edge
what I was
in.
wondering, do you just stick it into the comb or you hang it, but then?
I think I hung all mine right off the top.
So, yeah, and a lot of people do, but we've got the little tiny mini mating nukes.
Mhm.
So we stick them down in the comb, cause it's 3 frames, and the frames are this big.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 of them, so you have to kinda, like, if you set it on top, I don't know that they would do as well.
You would think they would have like a design where they have
You can
like a
always
hole that you can
put
plug
it
in
in.
and just put the cell right into
Yeah.
there.
Sounds like, that's right. Clean out all the mess each time, but.
So Cruz, when I graft, my trouble is not like picking up the larva. I can, I got that down. But when I go to put it in that cup, that's when I have to have a light and magnifying glass, because I can't see that in the cup.
What color cups do you use?
Either blue or yellow is what we use most of the time.
What tool do you use?
So I use the Chinese, but I've really been trying to work on using the German just to like get
I think that's
proficient at it.
The stainless steel is a little bit more difficult to get them off.
Yeah.
I've used it over at the Born and Bred, and I was like, yeah, no,
Yeah, it's hard.
it's hard. That one's hard. The Chinese tool is a lot more forgiving. But you pick up more royal jelly, which is good for the larvae. And it's easier to push the larvae off. You just, the slightest movement, just try to get it as close to the center of the cell as you can.
But yeah, that's where I have to get the magnifying glass and say, did I put you in there? Because I can't see them.
Yeah.
Glasses, magnifying glasses, optimizers, lots of light.
Surgeon microscopes.
Well, thank you, Cruz, that was really interesting.
Oh, I have one more question. When you're grafting, do you use all the wet paper towel?
I use a wet rag.
Okay.
As I'm putting them in, I cover it up, and then that way I can keep track of which cells already cooked.
Are you covering your frame as well?
Yes, when I'm not grafting.
That keeps them moist longer? Okay.
Yeah, because humidity, it's not so much the temperature, it's the
It's the
humidity.
humidity. I think I did my first graft in my shed that I have in my backyard. It was hot in that thing, but I have a wet rag to keep them nice and moist.
I did my best grafting in the cab of my truck.
Yep. I was gonna say, a lot of
It's a good
people
spot.
do it in the cab of their truck.
Yeah, because I was right there on the side thing, just grafting away.
I think they make a thing where you can put it on the steering wheel and you have like right there.
Oh, that'd be nice.
I think they have it on Amazon, maybe?